Beast Assassin, and I'm here today to do Toriko chapter 354 review. Now this is a pretty simple chapter, but it's action packed, so it's got a lot of action in it and some weird things are happening here, man. But let me just get on with the chapter. So first off, the piece of Acacia, the piece of Neo that jumped Toriko and Stajin actually wanted to eat them, but their gourmet demons reacted in that second, and Toriko's gourmet demon, the red one, not the blue one, red gourmet demon actually says, "Step aside, kid, you're too slow." So they actually reacted to that piece, and Stajin did some volcano stuff, and Toriko's demon did a jet fork. So they got a fire jet fork combination attack. That attack seemed to be able to launch this piece of Acacia into space, but the piece of Acacia suddenly starts growing all these tentacles and puts the tentacles in the ground so it can outstand the force of the fire jet fork, and so it roots itself into the ground. And when it does that, the power from the jet fork pushes up, but he's stuck to the ground. So in a way, the jet fork slips and goes into space, while the piece of Acacia, starts rotating very fast and coming back to the ground. So it was like a like a slingshot effect, something like that. And now he's coming to eat Toriko and Stajin at very high speeds, and that's when the Guinness battle steps in. And this is the crazy part. All that this guy does is sniff. He sniffs. I don't know how to say this. He takes a breath, and the piece of Acacia seems to become inert, like it's in a coma or something. The next thing the Battle Wolf does is he comes to the piece of Acacia where the piece of Acacia landed, and the piece of Acacia, like I said, it was like comatose, in a coma state. And all the Battle Wolf does is step on it. He steps on it. That's all he does, and the entire continent blows up. I mean, there's a picture, I'll put it somewhere around here, where you can see the entire continent swirling up and then exploding with air. It's not actually an explosion by say, it's an air explosion. An air explosion for the Battle Wolf just putting his foot down. When that happens, Toriko extends from his legs a fork and a knife several meters into the ground, so he can outstand the force of the wind. And Stajin does pretty much the same thing. If they wouldn't reinforce themselves to the ground, they would have been blown thousands of kilometers away from the Battle Wolf. Thousands of kilometers away. Even with them reinforcing their stand on the ground, they are pushed back 100 kilometers or something like that. Then Stajin does something pretty neat with his third eye. It seems that his third eye, once he saw an enemy, no matter where that enemy is, even if he leaves into outer space, so the distance doesn't matter here, the eye can see that enemy regardless of where it is. So even though they have been pushed a few hundred kilometers away from the Battle Wolf, he can still see the Battle Wolf clearly. And this is a funny thing, because the piece of Acacia is done, and the Battle Wolf takes a piece on the piece of Acacia, and that's funny. But right after that, he's coming to them, and he jumps a few hundred kilometers in the blink of an eye. He's there, right next to Toriko and Stajin. Now, Toriko says that when the Battle Wolf comes, Toriko says that, oh, so you are marking your territory. This island where God will appear is now your territory, isn't it? So Toriko was acting all cool and shit. But the Battle Wolf does the same thing he did to the piece of Acacia. He just sniffs a bit of the air, and Stajin is in a coma form. And then he does the same thing on Toriko, and that's where the chapter ends. It will appear that Toriko will enter the same comatose form as Stajin did. And what I think is happening here is that he's taking away their smell. As we all know, smell itself is a big part of Toriko. Not only because Toriko can smell the future and the past, like on some crazy shit, but because every food, it doesn't matter how good it is, if it smells awful, you're not going to eat it if the smell is awful. So smell is a key ingredient in cooking any food. That's in our world and that's in their world as well. So when you take the smell from someone like somebody has no smell at all is not that appetizing. And I think that Mitsutoshi will do something related to this fact, that when the battle wolf sniffs, he takes the smell of a certain individual, and then that individual doesn't die, but the impact from this puts him in a coma state for a few seconds or minutes, because the piece of acacia was waking up when the battle wolf stepped on it. So it was only a couple of seconds. Probably the same thing, but the piece of acacia was much stronger than Toriko and Stajin. So I'll say that probably Toriko and Stajin, if they get the same treatment, will be comatose for a minute or something like that. That's my own opinion. I don't know, we'll see in the next chapter. And how they will get out of this, I don't know. But it may involve Toriko's powerful sense of smell. The Batwolf may not actually be able to take Toriko's smell, if this is indeed the case. And probably we're going to see Blue or another of his Gurmate demons, because I think he has a black one as well. Who knows? We'll get to see in the next chapter. But that's the chapter, very action packed, not much story progression, a good chapter. Rate, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time. Have a nice day.
Any rational society would either kill me or put me to some use.